do you think this is your towel? Do you even wash it?
No, I don't wash the towel. The towel washes me. Who washes a towel?
You never washed?
You wash your towel?
You never wash the towel?
What am I gonna do? Wash the shower net?
Thank you. And can I just say, I loved you in IMDb.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the theater.
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got him, Senator Aric Putnam, on with us. Senator, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you, my friend?
Oh, I'm practically famous. I'm practically famous now, and I'm very excited about it. I do the interview with John Hoffman on Monday. And now Senator Hoffman has been doing this show for 4 years, whatever it's been. And we've been, of course, since the shooting, just letting him know on text. I've not talked to him on the phone. John, as soon as you're ready, let me know. Spot's yours. Gustafson's been kind of filling in for you, but it's your spot. And he says on Sunday afternoon, he says, let's do it Monday. So I blow Gustafson off, say, by the way, Hoffman's in, you're out. And she accepted. I kind of like that gal, too. But I have not spoken to John. I do not know how long it takes him to text what he texted me, right? I have no idea if he's... I have no idea as the condition. So we're going to go to blind, but we're going to be, it's John. We'll see how it goes. He gets on the phone just because he was going to do phone, not the Zoom. And he gets on and you find out it's John. And he was John. It was like funny John. John remembered all the old... I was so tickled to death by the interview. And I mean, I'm doing this for 30 years. I'd mentioned there, that's one of those interviews I will always remember. Content-wise, John and I screwing around for a half hour, but it was so cool. Now, I know you've seen him since, right? You went and visited him. Gustafson had. How is he doing physically?
I think he looks great. I think he looks fantastic.
Okay.
And I'm really glad you had a chance to visit with him and that the interview went the way it did. I mean, it's about time you started asking hard-hitting questions about baseball. Because I'm up for that too, actually. If you ever want to come
I'm going to hit you with some, there's questions coming if I could ever think of. See, this is so weird that, Blois Olson's The Take or whatever, right? He puts a thing in the afternoon that John Hoffman was on Al's show. First interview. He labeled it first interview. Like, yeah, all right, I guess maybe that's true. I don't know. It's just John coming back to his spot. I guess I didn't think much about it. And then I start getting photos sent to me on text from people who saw it on 9 and 5 and 11, and there's Al's picture, and they're sending it to me. I'm like, oh, my God. What are these people thinking? When they get some news guy has to sit down and go, he did it his first interview, let's go over it and get a snippet out of it, and realize John and I just BS'd for a half hour. There wasn't one legitimate question about the shooting because John said he couldn't talk about it because lawyers are still there. We're just doing John stuff. They had to hate me. Channel 5 must look and say, he might be the worst interview guy ever.
I think this is a win in every direction. I mean, and the first most important thing is how cool it is that John's still John. That to me, when I visited him in the hospital, I was like, that was the best thing is he's still just being John. So that's magical. The other thing I think is pretty cool is it's good that you're getting a little, it was sweet of John to be John and to be loyal to you after talking to you for 4 years and to be you the first person he visits with. I think that's pretty cool. I think this is the nicest thing I've ever said about you in the last 3 years we've been doing this, but I think that's a pretty cool sign.
Well, John's always been great. I think does this show first or not, we would do whatever we could with John. But he did say since that all started, his phone's ringing off the hook. Everybody expects him to do an interview. Here's what I want to ask you, and tell me if I'm wrong here. Who was I talking to? My wife, maybe. John gets whatever job John wants now, right? If Senator Hoffman says, I'm going to take that Senate spot, Klobuchar mover, she just moves, right? I mean, I think, I don't know what job he couldn't get and not spend one dime to get it. Am I lying? I mean, everybody knows Hoffman's name. Pick the job. You're in. I don't know what he couldn't get now. And I mean that in positive sense. I like John. I like him a ton. I think he was a good politician before. But am I lying? The get shot 9 times, pick your job card. You got it.
No, exactly. It's kind of funny that John was actually pretty good at getting what he wanted anyway. That's part of what makes John John. But I think, I actually joked with him about this when I visited him.
That's funny.
Because I was down to actually see another candidate as well while I was in the neighborhood. And I was like, I'm going to go see this other candidate because she actually is going to have to work to get elected. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, you're a saint now, dude. What are we thinking? We thinking governor or what? And he goes, what would I run on? And he had a couple other people that started like brainstorming what he could do next while his wings are still white and his halo is still tiny.
Oh, yeah. I just, the cachet is big. We got to do this because I forgot to do the Housley. Quick question, make you sound more human. What do you do to relax?
Sit in the dark.
No, you don't. That's just too creepy. You just sit, you just turn the lights off, just sit there. You kidding? Are you talking go to bed?
No, I'm gonna be a super nerd here, but I don't think that'll surprise anybody. I'm actually a huge introvert. I people exhaust me. I can talk to them all day, but at the end of the day, I am drained and exhausted. So I honestly, like, at the end of the day, I will sit in the dark in my basement, perhaps with a beer and a little bit of music, and I'll read the music and fall asleep. Like that's the best that I can do. And I don't know if that's relaxing or recovering.
I think that's okay. Yeah, I don't understand you introverts, but okay, fine. I get it. I read it. There's a whole book on it. Okay. So you're an introvert. You do that. I love it. Let me ask you this. We got to talk how this is all going to go down. Now, Senator Bruce Anderson, he didn't get the press I think he deserved. He passed on Monday, and he's a friend of the program. We had him a couple times. I really like Bruce a lot. Probably a bit of an introvert like yourself. I mean, he wasn't outgoing over the top. Really liked him, but now his seat needs to be redone. And let's talk the Senator Mitchell seat. Just quickly, I was quite disappointed in the whole trial. I think we talked about it. I was hoping she had that answer she was telling us she had. You know, once you hear why I did it, you're going to say, okay, and everything will be great. Nothing. Not a thing led me to think, the sock on my fly. Yeah, that's the way we keep it in the car. What? I got nothing out of it. I'm really mad now. And she put the whole Minnesota through stuff. Your thoughts on just how the trial ended? She's found guilty, but if you don't know yet, on both charges.
Yeah, I mean, I was not impressed. And I haven't been for a while. I too was disappointed. Like the whole defense argument of, I lied to the cops when I admitted I did it. That is, I mean, there's one thing is saying something that's not totally candid and honest.
Yeah.
There's also, and we see this in the Trump administration too, saying things that for anyone to believe they'd have to be a moron. Like, so like, that's like, don't say things like, make your lies better. If you're going to lie about stuff, make it so that you at least respect the intelligence of the people you're lying to. And I feel that way about the lying to the cops and to every other thing that comes out of Trump's mouth. Like, come on, man. Like, seriously.
It's the idea that a welfare check at 4:30 in the morning is the best time, and sneaking in and through a window and wearing black is. I'm pretty sure if you read any book on Alzheimer's, they say that's how you should do it. In fact, if you go to those memory wings, most of the nurses, you don't see them because they're dressed in black and sneaking around.
Yeah, she was under doctor's orders, man. That was doctor's orders. There was she had a prescription for 4:30 in the morning. How you doing? Yeah, I don't buy it, man. I don't get it.
Me neither. So now we got the next step. We get, of course. I was completely wrong on Monday when we found that out. We talked about it. I said there's no reason for her now not to continue to grab her checks and insurance and everything else right up to February, because I didn't think there'd be a special session just to boot her. But she did come out and said, I'll just take a couple of weeks because I need another check and I got to have the insurance and got to wrap a couple of things up. Putnam, you're an introvert. 15 months ago, you do something which could lead to something bad. You got 15 months. And yeah, you're innocent. You know you're innocent. Don't worry. Nothing. You make plan B if it doesn't go your way. The idea that I need a couple of weeks to tie up some loose ends. Why am I paying for that?
Well, so what I heard is, she has 2 8-year-old kids.
I know. Those are the ones I feel bad about.
Which is a whole different issue. But what I've heard is that, well, 2 things. One, I've heard that this is for health insurance for her kids so that she can switch it over, which is, I have no problem with that at all whatsoever. But I will also say, like, clearly she's not the best at making plans. So... I mean, it's
so wrong. It's very true.
Well, no, I'm being. I don't mean to be mean at all. I absolutely don't mean to be mean at all. She went through some horrible.
She's not
stuff.
a planner.
She made some really, really bad decisions for a whole year and a half.
She
made one horrible decision and then a series of bad decisions afterwards that, from my perspective, didn't take into consideration the needs of others. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Including her 2 kids. I agree. I thought that the only way that we would get this far is because she really did have some answer to that question. So her kids, Because now, 8 years old, they're going to be 10 years old soon. Their friends are knowing what's going on. Nothing good comes that you drug this out for 15 months. We got to go to break. When we come back, it now causes a whole avalanche of things to go on. We'll talk about that with Senator Aric Putnam right after this.
Braver Angels Minnesota is part of a national movement that brings together conservatives, liberals, independents, and others to restore trust, respect, and goodwill in politics. We seek not to eliminate our differences, but rather deal with them head on, with respect and understanding. We do not try to change people's views, but how they view the other side. There will always be differences. Braver Angels Minnesota believes the best way forward is to change how we deal with those differences. Join the civil conversation at mn.braverangels.org.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Don't need to ask him his opinion more than once. Al Travis on the Al Travis Show.
We got him, Senator Aric Putnam, with his senator. Now, this isn't the only thing, but with obviously the Mitchell conviction, there will end up being a special election for that. We mentioned the Anderson death. There's going to be a special election. So yesterday, day before, looking at this thing, this is the weirdest. Well, this has been a weird year all the way along from start to finish, Supreme Court get involved. But I already forgot, and I remember now, and the Dietzig seat had to be filled because she passed. And that was tragic enough this year. You had the guy who won the seat but didn't win the seat because he didn't live in the seat, had to have that one redone. The Eichhorn thing, self-punishment, gets himself arrested. He had to have his seat redone in a special election. We can be looking at 5 now with the Anderson and the Mitchell. And then the Fatah seat, if he wins the mayor, oh my God, it's special election central. I now know what the Secretary of State does. He runs a special election like every third week. How do you guys figure out what you're going to do, not going to do? How do you keep track?
Well, what's messed up too is that in Mitchell's seat, the two current House members are both running to replace her. So if either of them win, that's another special election in the House.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should. I think we're calling them the wrong thing. They're just elections. They're not special anymore.
They're-
We need to have legislation that takes the word special out because they're so common. But I
We'll
will
just-
say, one of the things that's weird about it, and in some ways kind of good, is that I don't know, good, but in terms of the economy of politics, these are all pretty safe seats. Like the likelihood
For
of
the most part, yeah.
swapping partisan identification is really, really low.
Yeah, but you don't need much. If one flips in any way, and here's the other question I have, and I want to say thanks to Mark, a good listener to the program. Won't give his last name because he didn't say he could, and I don't want his reputation to be hurt. But he did say, and this is unverified, but I think it's true because he said they said it at church. Bjorn Olsen has been, what do you call it when they send him overseas? He's been enlisted. What do you call it? He's on tour. He got called out of the country. So if that's true, those numbers change. On a regular basis, if that were to happen, you get called up and you're in the military, that changes the numbers. The House is 67-67. You now have a lock majority. Do you guys play around that park? And I say this, I'm pretty sure I know this is true. When Congressman Hagedorn was sick, and he had told me this, that some other guy had to go to get some treatment of something, and he said, you know what? He was on the other side. You go get that family issue. I think it was a funeral or something. You'll go do that. I'm going to go back, and I'm not going to vote. And they canceled each other out on whatever that was. He said that was a pretty normal thing at Congress, that if it was, wasn't because you're a schmo, you had something you had to do. They played that game. Would you guys do that in the Senate and the House here?
I like that idea. I actually think that's fair play. Like, in soccer, when someone, gets fouled or they got to stop, the opposing team will kick the ball out of bounds so that they keep possession. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a proper way of doing things. Because
again, Bjorn, I just got this God, what do they call it? He's been in the service forever. He's been deployed. Thank you very much. So is that something, well, you all must have dealt with that before. Is that something the game they would play there and say, well, we're not going to vote on this because Bjorn's out of town saving the country?
No, I mean, I like the idea, but I don't think it's going to happen. Not in politics.
Okay, that's fair. Okay.
People are more involved in fair play in soccer than they are in politics. So I can't, I don't know about that.
That's fair enough. I just wondered because thank you, by the way, Mark, for sending that in. I did not know that. Other thing I want to bring up to you, if I can, quick, the topic of the day in the daily agenda, the take is that Minnesota should reach $1 billion in fraud. It's almost like watching the Jerry Lewis telethon. Remember that? And it just ding, ding, ding. And now we're up to $1 billion. Can start singing the sad song at the end and let's move on. What do we got to do? I think you were with Gustafson back with that whole independent prosecutor guy thing, Office of Inspector General. Do we not have to have that? When do people just say it? I
totally agree. We do. I was one of the authors of that bill.
That's what
Heather, who is an awesome human being, by the way. I'm glad you have her on the show because she's incredibly cool.
Oh, I like her.
But also, the work she does is really good. And this is a super important thing. And it was a bipartisan fail, not passing that last year. Was a bipartisan screw up that we didn't get it done. Some of the things were some issues that need to be ironed out still. Some of our GOP friends were worried about, spending more money and making government bigger. That's, sometimes you got to do that. Like sometimes I think you got to, invest in the bureaucracy to protect the bureaucracy to make sure it doesn't suck.
Let me just throw this out against my Republican friends. Yep. Probably not the perfect bill. Yep. Would have grown government a little bit. Yep. I get it. That's all cool. But you also did? We voted all this stuff in so a guy can just say, hey, it's Al's Autism Center. Send me money. Here's some names. We made it that easy for them. If we don't spend a little ketchup, guess what happens? They're robbing us blind. They're just robbing us blind. So I think you got to spend some money. If there's a little money there, how much of $1 billion can you get back? I think you guys, wasn't it $2 million? It wasn't like a huge amount of money to set this bad boy up.
Yeah, it wasn't $2 million, but you're hiring staff, so it's going to be something that keeps going. But it was a really good idea, and I think we're gonna try again. I mean, that's the other thing we're talking about, how weird with all the special elections going on. I don't think next session anything's going to happen anyway, because we're all going to be so selfish and focused on re-election that we're not going to be spending any time anyway. I think it's going to be a pretty chill session, so I'm not worried about it.
And the governor said he was not going to call a special session now, which only makes sense because every special election could turn the whole thing on its ear, and you're going to have to time that perfect. I agree that he probably shouldn't have it. We've got enough going on. I think Taco Tuesday and Vote Tuesday, You get a taco if you vote Tuesday kind of thing. I think that's what we'll do from now on. Because like you say, they're not special anymore. Got to give out a taco.
Well, so in Australia, election day is a national holiday. And so everyone starts it off at the pub at 8 in the morning. And then they all stroll over to vote like around 11:30.
And I know that sounds bad, but it doesn't sound bad to me. I would love a national holiday to vote. I think that would be fantastic. Get rid of takes you 2.5 months to vote, or just go. No, this is when we get to vote. And if you have special circumstances, go down to the county courthouse, make your vote. I don't back in the old days. I love going back in the old days.
Let's make it patriotic too. Do it on the 4th of July, so I don't have to do so many damn parades.
Well, and that's the problem, because I'm going to ask you next time you're on next week. We've got to talk about how many parades do you have and what do you got going on in your life, because this is the season, isn't it? Yeah. We got them. Senator Aric Putnam, love having you on. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Take care.